Welcome everybody to our new moon in Virgo. No, it's not in Virgo, it's in Pisces energy update. I'm finding myself so confused with where we are in the astrological year because there is so much that's going on and it's all fresh and it's all new and it's all amazing from my current perspective. But I know that there's going to be a sense of upheaval and turbulence and things sort of shifting, and it's almost like the rug being pulled from under our feet kind of energy as we come into the eclipse season, which will be marked by the next full moon in Libra. So we're now in the new moon energy of Pisces. And this new moon energy is really designed to help us to create the conditions for us to receive what we desire. The key message that's been coming through for me is believe to receive. So if you're new to me, I am a sacred union coach. I am a multidimensional success coach. I am a Paradise Earth code keeper, and I am here as a psychic soul coach. For those of you who are awakening starseeds, you might recognize yourself as an empath or a light worker, but you are here to affect change in this world that is unprecedented. That is by activating the paradise codes within you and living your own personal paradise so that we can create a collective paradise for all. And we're going to do it in one generation, my friends. That's what's happening. So I'm here to help facilitate that change as quickly as possible with as much grace and ease as possible. So for the trailblazers out there, hello, delighted to be connected with you. And you might not think you're a trailblazer, but I tell you what, if you're intending to shift the relationship patterns that you inherited, if you're intending to shift the lack consciousness that you inherited, if you are intending to shift the family dynamics that you inherited, then you are a trailblazer, because anyone who is shifting the dynamic of what they've been born into and creating basically like a 180-degree turn and really flipping the switch on that which has been so limiting, you are a trailblazer. And your efforts actually create the ripple effect that is the butterfly effect. The impact of you making this kind of change in your own personal life is what influences everyone around you. And all of us doing this come together to create this thing called peace. And that is my passion, is to actually activate this conversation around what peace looks like, what it feels like, how our current life, our current worldview shifts, how what is going on in the world shifts as we become peace-driven rather than conflict-driven. And there is an internal shift that is required to occur. And that is that we shift from being wired to survive to being wired to thrive. And here we come into the energy of the Pisces new moon, because it happens to be landing on the 10th of March, which in my country where I live in Peacehaven, how amazing is that, is actually Mother's Day. So it's Mothering Sunday. Now, this is a day when we're supposed to celebrate our mothers and how wonderful they are and how much they've given to us, which no doubt they gave us life. So let's be really grateful for that. But I know there are so many people on this planet today that feel like they should be more grateful, feel like they should make more of a fuss, but there's so much deep internal resentment and wounding in terms of the inheritance that we each receive from our own mothers and our family dynamics, that actually Mothering Sunday, just like Father's Day, can actually be a very challenging day, just like Christmas, right? So what are we going to do about it? Well, we're using this opportunity to heal the mother wound, because actually what's happening with the relationship with our mother is very much influencing our relationship with others. So this is about sacred union. This is also about how we open ourselves to receive love and whether we feel really, truly worthy and deserving of healthy love, unconditional love, right? Now, I'm not going to spoil this for you because I'm actually holding a free masterclass on Saturday, the 9th of March at 5 p.m. GMT, which is noon Eastern Standard Time, and it's 9 a.m. Pacific time. So you can work out the timings for this. I'm going to invite you, please, to make sure you register, because even if you can't join me live, what you'll be able to do is get the replay. Now, this is not going to be live streamed anywhere. This is literally a private space where you get to interact with me in a really amazing masterclass where we're going to be looking at the 3 essential keys to healing the mother wound so we can unblock the flow of receiving. And I'm going to be going deeply into what that actually means in the masterclass. So you can have some quick wins from the masterclass and also then have a conversation with me so that you can clear up any misunderstandings or any confusion and actually have a breakthrough in having a call with me. So at this very moment, I am actually going to try and put in the chat box. I'm not going to try. There's no try. There's do or do not. I'm going to put the link to booking a call with me. And I'll make sure I do this on YouTube as well. So those of you who are on YouTube, thank you so much for showing up, for subscribing, for basically supporting the efforts that I'm making to bring into this world this idea that we really can align with peace. And it does have so much to do with our mothers, because from our time in the womb, we are basically either wired to survive or thrive. Okay, and the majority of the population, I think, in the same way that we know from the days that I was doing all the birth work I was doing, that 8 out of 10 women are scared of giving birth. It's not an unfathomable guess to suggest that 80% of the population is wired to survive rather than thrive. And if you live in Timbuktu, if you live away from tech, away from the news, away from the institutions that most of us have grown up around, then maybe you haven't been wired to survive and you have been wired to thrive. But we have a global upgrade that is required here, and we're being given all of the support to actually do this. So just to give everybody a chance to sort of get on board, I'd love to see who's here with me. If you're here, please do say hello in this live. I'm just going to actually bring you up right now so I can see who's here. If you have any comments, let me know. And I'm going to actually reveal to you the I am statements that we're working with, because for me, every new moon and full moon are like chapters in the book of life, our personal lives and also the collective life. And I recently interviewed the very amazing Dr. Bruce Lipton, and we're actually going to be broadcasting his interview with me on Sunday the 10th at 7:11 p.m. GMT. So that's going to be on the RozyGlow YouTube channel. It is awesome. It is such an awesome interview. I heard him say things that I've not heard before, and it was really exciting, including the role of clubbing, of raving, of ecstasy. Like, you're just going to have to come and stay tuned so you can find out more about that. But basically, you know, this plays a big part because he is one of the first people to have talked about how our time in the womb shapes us, how the brain waves from the last trimester of pregnancy are starting basically they're starting a process of us being hypnotized and basically programmed without us realizing to survive our environment. So to adapt to our environment in such a way that we will be taken care of, and to take on the rules of our family, our society, our culture, without question, so that we're actually accepted as part of the tribe. Now, he put things far more eloquently than I do, but what I'd say to you is, if you're here, please say hello, let me know where you're at. Hey, Natalie, good to see you. And whilst I'm here, I'm also going to put the little link up for the masterclass, because that masterclass is something that you want to sign up to, okay? And as you sign up to it, you will basically be able to interact with me, and we get to do lots and lots of very, very, very cool things. So I'll make sure I put that in the text box, because at the moment it's defeating me. Share, here we go. There's the link. Let's do this quickly and get it over to you. So why do I do all these things? Well, my own life has changed so much since I decided to embark on this journey of basically reprogramming my subconscious from being wired to survive to being wired to thrive. And I know that we can all, when they say leopards can't change their spots, yes, they can. But we just need to know how to do it. And where I see people really getting stuck is where they're basically, how do I put it? Let me just pause that so it doesn't happen. Where they are wanting change without actually going through the motion of change. Now, all of us are subconsciously, on some level, actually scared of the change we actually want, okay? So it's important for us to remember that there is going to be resistance. Now, if you know that, then you can prepare for it, okay? And that's what we want to do. So when I look at the opportunity that we're getting with this new moon and full moon, this new moon Pisces, if you know anything about Pisces, you'll know that Pisces are generally considered to be a bit wishy-washy. Like, they don't really commit to anything. It's a bit like Libra in energy, right? It's like, oh, a bit this, bit that. And here's why. If you consider the energy of the new astrological year, which is the energy of Aries, that new moon that comes after Pisces, it's like, I'm coming into this world. I've been born. I'm going to have it. It's all mine. It's like the fool at the start of the tarot journey. Doesn't have a clue what's ahead. Just got that ambition, that drive, that passion for the experience, and not experienced the pain, the suffering, the lack, the things that could happen yet. So there's none of that sort of sense other than in the subconscious, right? But when it comes to Pisces at the very end of the astrological year, which is so interesting as a new moon energy, it's like been through all of the different houses, been through all of the different zodiac signs, learnt that things are not quite as black and white as we think they are from that Aries perspective, right and wrong, duality. that we're actually in this place of everything is a little bit right and everything is a little bit wrong. So the way you can interpret that is everything helps and everything hinders. And when you see in your life the challenges that you're experiencing and say, how are they helping me? How is this serving me right now? And there's going to potentially be a huge argument in your head going, it's serving me, it's causing me all these problems, blah, blah, blah. Okay, all right, but what am I learning from it? Is this teaching me resilience? Is this teaching me just how much courage I have? Is this teaching me just how strong I am? Like, what am I learning from this hardship, from this challenge, from this tribulation, right? It's very, very important. In the same way, you know, the things that, you know, we feel are really, really helping us, how are they limiting us, right? How could this thing that's potentially the best thing ever also creating some kind of limitation in our lives? And what can happen, for example, as we grow in confidence, we have a few wins occurring in our lives, as we can end up feeling like nothing's ever going to go wrong ever again, nothing's ever going to be a challenge ever again, and we ride that wave, we work with the prevailing winds, you surf the winds, and it just feels amazing until there's no wind anymore. And you're like, what happened? What did I do wrong? And you didn't do anything wrong. Because this is the thing. There's you and your energy that's radiating out into the world. And you are a microscopic element of the macrocosm. And then there's also this collective energy, right? There's the collective energy of humanity. There's the collective energy of our planet. There's the collective energy of our solar system, the collective energy of our galaxy and of our universe. And of course, we can go beyond the universe into the multiverse and the omniverse, etc. But the main thing is, yes, you are affecting everything with your vibration. And also there is something beyond you, the collective, which is affecting you. So when you know, like, for example, if you were to go sailing, or you were going to go for a walk on a mountain, a big mountain walk, you'd want to check the weather conditions, right? You'd want to check what's likely to happen so that you can then decide whether you're going to go today or tomorrow or next Wednesday, or how to actually plan your journey so you can make the most of the prevailing winds. Maybe, you know, if it's going to be chucking it down with rain, today's not the day to go abseiling or to go climbing that mountain, right? So you want to be really aware when things are going on in your own world that there is you, and then there is also what is beyond you. And if we can allow ourselves, I don't want to spoil the interview, there's so many things I could say, but there are things that are in our control and there are things that are not in our control. So what we learn through this Piscean new moon energy is to be in a space of reflectiveness, and also to be in a space of curiosity, and to allow ourselves to move beyond the judgment that usually limits us. Okay, so very much seeing the womb space as the full zodiac wheel. And it's like when you've kind of been through all of the journey of growing and you're ready to be born into a new version of yourself, you get squeezed out of the familiar zone, right, which we call the comfort zone. And you go through what feels like a real challenge to basically squeeze out of you. It's to squeeze primarily the fluid out of your lungs so you can breathe in another environment, right? That's what happens for us as babies, human babies. And so if you consider the impact of that, when you are ready to grow beyond what you know, you will go through an experience of basically being squeezed, and it's really uncomfortable and it feels, you know, difficult and unfamiliar, right? So, you know, if we're not good at embracing change because we're scared of change, we can sort of try and stop the process. But actually, you have to go through the birth canal in order to be born into the new you, whatever the new you, the new life experience you want to have. So can we embrace discomfort as a necessary part of change? Now, discomfort can be made much, much, much more painful through resisting it. And it can be made much more pleasant and experiential, and even an enjoyable way, you could say, if we allow ourselves to get curious. And the reason I'm saying this is because when it comes to the full moon that we've got coming ahead in Libra, it's all about relationships. Now, let's not forget there are things going on in the world, just like there always have been, that are not very savory. We know there's a lot of suffering going on in the world. We know that there are wars going on at the moment. You know, some of them are publicized, some of them are not. We know that there are different agendas. We know that things are not as they seem, that, you know, the kind of naivety we might have had in previous generations, we don't have anymore. There's a lot more questioning going on. And that's a good thing. This is part of the journey of our evolution as humans. But the main thing really for us to accept is as we come into the energy of the Libran full moon, we have this start of eclipse season, and it's all about relationships. This next eclipse season is all about relationships. So if you come back to the new moon in Pisces energy and how that relates to the full moon in Libra energy, we're really looking here from the perspective of, if I'm wired to survive, the way I approach my relationships can be very different to if I'm wired to thrive. It affects the way you perceive yourself in relationship, others in relationship. So one of the things that is awful in terms of what happens, for example, with atrocities caused in war, is war crimes, and in particular, the way women are treated by men. You know, when we're taken into captivity, when there are hostages. I mean, it might not even be women, it can be children, it can be the vulnerable, it could be anyone really. You know, we look at how those who are angry and hurt will hurt others, right? And this is part of this, why we're wired to survive rather than thrive. And it's also why we resist being wired to thrive, because there's a part of us that is concerned that if we forget the pain that is caused through suffering, that we will leave ourselves open to more suffering because we won't be trying to protect ourselves from it. And this is one of the key shifts in perception, because what we focus on grows. Now, from the understanding I have and all my professional experience working with pre-birth influences, birth, and the first 7 years of life, and looking at how we become who we are, what I would say to this is we are currently at a point unprecedented in the sense that we have the research, we have the awareness, we have the understanding that we never had before in terms of how the brain works, how trauma passes from one generation to the next, why our genes get activated for sickness or for health, why we stay in patterns of struggle or we overcome them. Like, we've got all this information now. There are so many amazing human beings on this planet today, literally bringing light to that which has been hidden, and also so much research that has been done that we do now know how to clear and then prevent trauma occurring in the future. Now, when it comes to the state of this planet and everyone wants to save the world, it's a bit more like, actually, it's time to save humanity because the world will be here, all right? And I know some might argue that it won't be if some human beings decide to press silly buttons, but ultimately, from another perspective, I don't think that would be allowed to happen in our universe again. And that's another story. But for now, when it comes to what is tangible, what is something we can work with, the important thing here is to understand that, I'm looking away because I'm just tuning into this, to understand that we can be wired to thrive instead of surviving, that we can activate the Paradise Earth codes, that we can go back in our bloodline history and her story so far that we can access the time before the fall, before the traumas, before all the other things that started happening in our lives in previous generations that made us contract and start to see through eyes of fear. Now, around this time last year, I was promoting my retreat in Santorini, which was where I had been guided to go and to download the Star Peace codes, the Paradise Earth codes, the Christ-like miracle codes, and the Atlantean Master Teacher codes. Now, they're already there in the earth, but through my light language, it was all about activating and energizing these codes in that bit of the planet, that land, okay, so that it could spread across and do its work. Now, this year, I'm hosting a retreat. It's likely to be in North Wales at the moment, and it's around Lionsgate, but that's another story, and there's another video about that. For now, everything that's happening presently is to allow us to shift the wiring we have and the structures and the energetic container that is available to us so that we can actually receive what we desire, so that we can actually have what it is that till now we've not been able to experience. We've not had that experience. We've been grasping in the wind. It feels like we've been, you know, dangled a carrot that we've been persistently trying to get hold of, but we can't. Why is that? Because we haven't been a vibrational match. So we're learning to be a vibrational match. Now, here are the I am statements that you can embed, because we're going to be working with these in the multidimensional yoga that I offer twice weekly live through RozyGlow.com. You can check the yoga tab for information on that. What we do through the yoga is we really activate the statements, the I am statements, and we have a card reading every session, every yoga session I do a mini card reading, so we can see where we are in this journey of integrating these new frequencies, right? So when I'm working with people energetically, I always work with them physically as well, because there are so many layers that are required for us to actually allow this change to occur. Most of us are trying to change in one place or another without having done a full excavation of all the places that are required for us to create a shift in our own energy field and our physical being. So that's why the yoga is so important. It's part of all of my coaching as well. And there is a difference between just going to classes, whether it's Keep Fit, yoga, anything out there, ecstatic dance, for example, just doing it for the sake of it, which is lovely, but actually doing it with an intention that you have activated with a new moon, that you're then going to clear resistance to with the full moon, and working through the cycle of the sessions pre, during, and after. It's just amazing. It allows you to get so much further faster and to embed the shifts in you that will allow you to see the change in the world around you. Because as you change your view of the world, which is partly how you show up in the world, then your experience of it will be different. So these are the I am statements. I am divine sacred union is absolutely key. I am worthy of manifesting my dreams into reality. Very much the Piscean energy coming through there. I am worthy of manifesting my dreams into reality. And the third one is I am believing in receiving. Sorry, I am believing and receiving. Okay, because in the model that we're working with, in order for us to shift from what we know and has been so deeply ingrained to what we want but seems like a fantasy, right? I'm here saying to you, we've got these codes. We've got them in our ancestry. We know how to be harmonious, how to co-create through peace rather than conflict. We know how to do that. We know how to be wired to thrive rather than survive. We do, but it's quite a few generations back, quite a few. One could say 10, 11,000 years ago, right? At least, if not much longer than that, right? So if this is the case, then believing before we receive is essential, because the way we've been wired presently is I will believe it when I see it. And yet there is so much in the world around us that we don't see, but we do believe in. Wi-Fi, electricity, right? We're learning more than ever now how as human beings, we are energy that is connected to everything else. We know that the heart can be measured in terms of the resonance of the heart 3 foot out. Whereas when it comes to the brain, 1 inch away from the brain and you can't register the frequencies anymore. But from the heart, you can. And this is all being documented. It's all being researched. So we're heart-centered beings. We need to be. We want to be heart-centered beings to co-create. And in order for us to overcome the kind of behavior that really is the hurt people hurting others, the atrocities that go on in this world that horrify any heart-centered human, then it does come back to our relationship to our mother. It does come back to our time in the womb and how we were created. Were we wired to survive or thrive? Were we born scared and angry? Or were we born trusting and willing to question, willing to explore, willing to go on an adventure, right? If we didn't feel like it was safe to thrive when we were being grown in the womb, then we're going to be wired to survive. We're wired completely differently. And it does take a process to go through. And it's a systematic process and it takes time. I hear people all the time say, oh, I just cleared all of my beliefs. I just did this and I cleared all my, I'm like, great. How's that working for you? Oh, it's all gone now, all that stuff. I'm like, okay, so are you now making more money? Are you now having healthier relationships? Are you now feeling better in yourself? No, but I've cleared it. Oh. Well, here's the proof's in the pudding. Has your life changed? Are you noticing a different sense in you, in your relationship to the world? Because whatever you've done, if it's not actually affecting your experience of life, then we have to say, okay, you might have done it, but you're not living that change yet. And the way that we live that change is we are required to learn it, right? How do you show up expecting life to work in your favor rather than against you? How do you deal with things that are unexpected, and instead of feel like, you know, life is trying to thwart you and condemn you, it's actually supporting you to have what you want? How do you encounter the unfamiliar in such a way that you can actually grow into it rather than look for it as a sign to step away and not even try? Because all those who have created tremendous success in their lives that wasn't just handed down to them usually have come from extreme struggle and stress. To be able to do that, they've overcome hardship. They've shown themselves that they can do that. And hopefully they've sought out all sorts of healing and support to be able to actually overcome the trauma that they've inherited, right? Because we can be outwardly successful but still be motivated by our wounding. And we can be outwardly successful and actually be motivated by our highest self. And that's the journey we want to go on now, because the Paradise Earth co-creators are not being driven by their pain. Pain is inspiration for change and healing, right? And then it's overcome. And this is how we then come into the space where we are able to live the vibration of change. And, you know, more and more, you know, again, I just want to get you to the interview on Sunday, because when you hear Bruce talk about this, he's talking about it from a scientific perspective. How do we flip the switch? How do we, you know, go from being someone who is constantly stressed and struggling and worried, even if we've got what looks like an outwardly successful life, we're riddled with self-doubt, anxiety, constantly, you know, questioning our motives. That's not really quality of life, is it? And I know for so many as well, there is this sense of feeling the pain of the world. And more we're learning now that, you know, empathy is in being an empath. Sorry for the bunny ears, but being an empath is actually a trauma response to challenges in early life. Now, that doesn't mean that being psychically open, sensitive, able to feel other people is wrong. It's just that we've learnt to be overly sensitive to others as a way of trying to protect ourselves. So to anticipate the needs of others in order to protect ourselves. Now, as I said before, everything that seems like a hindrance can be helpful. Everything that is helpful can be a hindrance. It depends on how we work with it. So we're learning to get clever. So this new moon and this full moon are giving us the opportunity to really see where we are still lined up with the old program of surviving, where we're still buying into old paradigm thinking, beliefs, show-ups in the world, and where we are actually in the new paradigm, and what is required for us to be able to create the bridge from what we don't want to what we do want. So if you are someone who would like to improve your relationships, if you are someone who would like to attract the kind of love that you fear might only belong in the movies, if you are someone who would like to be able to enjoy what you have in your life rather than worrying all the time about whether it's going to suddenly be taken away from you, if you would like to allow yourself to enjoy what you have created without feeling terribly guilty all the time because everyone else, there's so many people that are suffering in the world and you have and they don't, you know, how do you contribute to your own suffering? And how do you contribute to your own well-being? This is what these two moon and sun formations are offering us right now, is to really see this. So this is your invitation. If these things are important to you and you would like to make a shift, then do join me for the free masterclass on Saturday. I've already put the link in the comments of the Facebook group. I'll make sure I put this information in the text box on YouTube as well, so you can find it. Come along, learn about these 3 keys that basically allow you to unblock the flow to receiving, because you may be doing some of them. You might be doing aspects of some of those 3 keys, but you might not have done all of them. And also join me for the unveiling of the interview with Bruce, because I will be basically showcasing this interview on the basis that it's really letting the world know where we most need to focus our attention if we want to create peace on Earth in one generation. That's what I've understood from it. Where do we focus our attention to create the biggest shift humanity has ever known, right? In all of history and her story, in one generation, because that's what we're really being called to. And that's what that interview is about. So that's going to be on Sunday. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And as we're now prepping You have the I am statements. I'll go over them again in a second that we're working with now with this new moon energy that comes through on the 10th. The 25th is when we have the full moon lunar eclipse. Okay, now that full moon lunar eclipse is going to be the ending of something. So what would you like it to be the ending of? How about it being the ending of your toxic love patterns? How about it being the ending of you hurting yourself because you come from pain, or hurting others because you're in pain yourself? How about it being the ending of you buying into the struggle paradigm? How about the ending of your connection to lack programming? Do you like the sound of this? Because that's the invitation with this eclipse, is really make it work for you. It's about relationships. It's about your inner masculine. It's about your inner feminine. It's about how your inner masculine and feminine are working together. Does your inner feminine trust your inner masculine? Does your inner masculine trust your inner feminine? You know, one aspect is to do with inspiration, the other with intuition, one with action, one with vibration setting. So, you know, all of this is key to us learning how to co-create our reality consciously, because as we do it for our own lives, we do it for the world. So that's really it, because we're also coming into a Mercury retrograde. For a little while now, we've had all the planets going forward direction, no retrogrades. It's been amazing. But from the 1st of April, we're going to actually be having the retrograde phase of Mercury again. Now, this is just about us taking a pause. Okay, it doesn't have to mean everything's going to go terribly wrong. It's just about having a pause and just seeing where you are in relation to where you want to be, seeing what details still need to be taken care of in order for you to be well structured for where you actually want to go. Okay, and in between all of this fun, we also have the equinox. The equinox is technically on the 19th of March this year. Okay, and you know, the equinox is actually the midpoint of spring. I didn't know this until I had a conversation with my lovely acupuncturist the other day, but the solstices are the midpoint of summer and winter, not the start. The equinoxes are the midpoint of spring and autumn. Isn't that interesting? So with this equinox, this balance of light and dark, we get to see in us how balanced we are, where the emphasis needs to be in order for us to actually achieve what we set in motion with the new year. Okay, and I've always been saying that we have 3 fresh starts with the new year, because we have the equinox in December, we have the Gregorian calendar new year, then we have the Chinese new year, but actually we have 4 and the 4th one is the astrological new year as well, which is what's coming right now. So this is another fresh start. This is the invitation. It's all happening now. We are the second coming, my friends, okay? There's no one coming to save us. There is nothing that we need to wait for. It's an activation inside of us. We are the masters activating the master codes on this earth. This is what it's all about. So let's review again these statements. I am divine sacred union. I am worthy of manifesting my dreams into reality. I am believing and receiving. With this new moon, the fun thing I'll say about it is that it's a super moon and it's got a really dreamy energy. I keep hearing Neptune coming through. So it's like, allow yourself to dream your dream. Don't worry about whether it's achievable or not, but specifically on the 10th, allow yourself to dream your dream. And by that, I mean, what is it you really want to see happen in your life whilst you're in this skin suit, whilst you're living and you're breathing? What are the shifts you want to see in this world? What are the shifts you want to see in yourself? What do you want to see has happened before you decide it's time to leave this planet? What is the experience you have decided to come here to have? Will you let yourself have that experience? Will you let yourself dare to share it with yourself? Because if you will, then you can start to create it. And that's exactly what this Lionsgate coming in August is all about. And there's a separate video about that, as I said, coming very soon. So I'm going to leave that there. I'm just going to check to see if I've got any questions here from anybody. I don't think so. Let's see. As I said to you, what I would encourage you to do, please, is to make sure that you sign up for the desire mapping call ahead of the masterclass. This is my gift to you for having shown up for the masterclass. And it really is, hey, Jackie, good to see you. And it's really important to recognize that as you delve into these things, then what you're going to be looking at is where there is confusion. When you get on a call with me, and this is a complimentary call, okay, it lets you know where you want to have the biggest shift, where your focus needs to be for you to have the biggest shift. And it gives you an opportunity to clarify anything that I've shared with you during the masterclass that maybe you weren't sure about and how it specifically relates to your situation. Because what I've noticed with people, although I'm a big believer in spending time to develop these new habits, when people want quick breakthroughs, very often they just haven't asked the right questions. So when you ask the right questions, you get the right answers, and that tells you exactly where to focus your attention next for the next level breakthrough for you, which then opens the door to the next door, right? And that's what we're doing. We're constantly opening doorways into ourselves, into our own liberation. And when I actually consider the people that have recently approached me and have been really interested in doing deeper work with me, but have held themselves back, it's always to do with not feeling worthy and deserving of the changes that we truly want. There is this such a strong connection to the self-identity of suffering, the self-identity of who we've been, the wounded self, that we have no idea who we are if we're not that wounding. And it's so scary that actually we step back from discovering who we are beyond this conditioning. So that's that crux point for you, is, are you ready to embrace the you that you don't know you are, but you want to be? Are you ready to embrace the you that you don't know you are, but you want to be? Because if you are, that's going to take you learning a new way of showing up in the world. And that doesn't come from a workshop or a one-off session. It comes from showing up systematically with support over time. When I look at where people hold themselves back, is when they've tried to do everything themselves except walk alongside someone who can support them to overcome where they give up on themselves, to overcome the blind spots that basically keep them doing the same thing again and again. But that requires a level of self-honesty that then allows you to be honest with those that you choose to invest in yourself with, so that they can guide you along your path, right? Now, I'm excited about what's coming up with these 3 keys. I'm not going to ruin it for you and tell you now, but one leads to the other. And, again, if you feel you've done some of this work, or maybe you feel you've done all of it, you've got nothing to lose by showing up and seeing actually what you have and you haven't done. Because I see a lot of people having done a lot of mindset shifting, or maybe they've done some level of reprogramming, maybe through RTT, maybe through belief encoding, maybe through timeline therapy, maybe through quantum healing. But actually, there's no frame of reference of how to show up as the new version of themselves consistently through all the different things that show up. That's why you want to walk alongside someone who can help you see how to deal with the things that come up in your life in a way that you're showing up as your highest self, not your wounded self. Because all you know is how to show up as your wounded self. So there's a pre-expectation there that creates, again, the conditions you don't want because of how you're showing up. All right, I'm going to leave that there. I look forward to your comments. This is a really powerful time, my friends. Let's make the most of it. We're all preparing for Lionsgate now. And if you are someone who's interested in the retreat that I'm going to be offering, which is a 3-month container, drop me a comment. Please join my mailing list, rozyglow.com, because you can then communicate with me there. You can express interest through rozyglow.com/events. Just look up Lionsgate. And that is also where you can sign up to the masterclass. It is also where you can sign up to YouTube. You can sign up to the Facebook group. The main thing is start to become part of the community, because amazing things are happening. That's it for now, beautiful ones. I look forward to connecting with you on Saturday, and also to sharing the broadcast with you on Sunday. And we will take it from there. Okay, lots of love.